What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Shuggy from Shook Earth Media, and today we are talking about the new Game of Thrones show, Episode 1. This is House of the Dragon. It's a prequel set 100-some years ago, and it's about the Targaryens, and it takes place in King's Landing. And just broad brush, I haven't done too many Game of Thrones videos, so big Game of Thrones fan. I like the original show quite a bit. I wasn't a fan of the last two seasons in general. I wasn't satisfied with the ending, so that's the popular opinion. So I agree with that, and but I still love the show, and I've read the first book. So I'm not an expert on the lore or anything like that. So just to get that out of the way, so I'm not comparing it to the books or anything or how accurate it is. I'm not the right judge of that. So we're just judging this show on its own merits. And I gotta say, overall, it's pretty decent. It's a good setup. There's a lot of places it can go. A lot of places from here. They can do a lot with the setup. It's got a lot to do with the lineage of the crown, and a lot of similar themes of the original show. I will say overall, it plays it a little bit safe in that it's familiar settings. Naturally, given the subject matter, it's going to take place in King's Landing, and it's a lot of familiar sights. There's a lot of little callbacks. So there's definitely some drawbacks, I would say. But we can get to that a bit later. But they set up some good characters. There's some good actors here. It's a decent cast. There's a lot going for it. So, I would say this episode was good enough. It's worth watching. But I'll have to see the bigger picture to really be able to fully judge it. So, of course, we'll cover the episodes here on the channel. And if you guys like it, I'll keep reviewing it. And if you like videos like this, definitely hit the sub button and like and comment. I want to hear your opinions down below and all that. So with that, let's just jump right into the episode. So we start off with a voiceover kind of scene, and it's giving us the setup, the background. I'll say just on a personal note, I don't think that we needed this information presented this way, because we get this information later other ways, and it lacks in subtlety a little bit. So I'm not really. We don't need the voiceover. This whole scene. Basically, this is the moment that the lineage is decided who's gonna take the throne. It's between this lady over here. And I'm gonna miss some names because I don't, it's this is my first time viewing it. I just watched it, so it's like my first reaction. And then it's also between the guy who ends up being the king, and then they read out the thing. So yeah, I mean, I like the setting and all that, but me personally, I wouldn't write this scene in there because I don't think we really did anything like that in the original Game of Thrones. We just kind of let the world speak for itself, and this kind of feels like just spoon feeding the audience a little bit. So but it is based on a history book, from what I understand, that George R.R. Martin wrote. So maybe they're trying to bring in some of the historical aspects and give you the overarching picture, how it connects and everything. And they have the text on the screen that tells you how many years it was. I don't think that stuff's necessary to me. And they also they make sure to point out they name this character and say, I forget what her name is, but she, a woman, was passed up for the throne. It's like, I do have eyes that work, so that's why I be like lacks in subtlety, because they're just telling us, spoon feeding us information that's already obvious. So but that's it's a minor complaint at the end of the day. So I spoke enough about it. Doesn't matter. But it's great to be back in King's Landing. Everything looks very familiar, and there's pros and cons to that. The pro is, of course, that we already love the show. You guys know that we love the setting. So you see the settings again. You get the memories, the member berries, and all that. And there's something to be said for that. In that, oh yeah, Game of Thrones is back. They want to go for that same feel. And I like that they're focusing on the intrigue with the family and the double crossing and setting up rivalries, stuff like that. So they're focusing on the right things. It just feels it. I don't know that as of right now, this episode to me feels like it's doing anything new, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it could be a bad thing if we rely too much on repetitive kind of storylines. So repetitive isn't stuff we've done before on the series. But here we're introduced to the young princess, and by the end of the episode, of course, we cover spoilers. For those who don't know, we cover spoilers on the channel, so your warning. She ends up being the new heir by the end. So she's being set up here. I'll say most of the episode, I didn't really necessarily care for her character that much. Not that I disliked her or anything. It was just like, she knows she's self-centered and all that. She's very focused on, feeling jealous that she kind of feels like she's neglected because her father always wanted a son. And it's relatable. I can understand the conundrum and all that, but they don't give her like in screenwriting. There's a book called Save the Cat, and that Save the Cat moment is where you have the character do something selfless that just makes you like them a little bit. It could be something extremely innocuous. I don't know that we necessarily get anything like that, so I don't feel attached to her right away. Maybe other people feel different. And I'll say I don't know that her acting was a little over the top, I think, but I don't know. That's gonna be subjective. But they have her friend character here who ends up being the daughter of the hand of the king. So this connection they're going between them. My assumption is they're trying to go for a like romantic overtone, and I don't know if it's gonna be like a forbidden love type of thing, which it could work, but again, it's a first episode, so how connected am I going to feel? It's not really reasonable to say, oh, I'm going to love all these characters instantly. So give me a couple episodes, I might feel differently. So but as of right now, I'm kind of indifferent. But I like the way they do with the setting. It put us in get this big expanses. But again, it's all relatively familiar, although it does feel a little bit bigger now. I don't know if that's intentional or maybe I'm just not remembering King's Landing right. But yeah, we get to see like big staircases and all of that, and the CGI matte paintings and all that. So here we got the pregnant queen. I guess you call her queen. I don't know the right term. You could correct me. I'm gonna get lore wrong in this video. You guys already know, but the queen is pregnant. And honestly, the queen's probably like my favorite character in the episode, oddly enough, because there's a lot of like emotional catharsis with her, and she's kind of like victimized by the end. So I feel bad for her, and what she's going through, and just as the mother and all that, you already like are drawn to like the characters like her. So I do like the mother character. So moving on, we got a little meeting here, the council of the king, and the young princess, Ray, I forget her name already, but the princess. Okay, I'm just gonna say princess. She is the supposed to be the cupbearer, and she's late, which to me, like instantly is like it puts in my mind like, oh, she's a little bit bitter about this. She doesn't take it too seriously, which doesn't really feed into me liking her as a character. But not that I dislike her, because I'm late to stuff sometimes. Everybody is. But yeah, so that's just again like first impressions and all that. But at this meeting, it's supposed to be like background noise. But if you pay attention to it, there's like a guy elsewhere on another continent or something, and he is killing a bunch of pirates. And one of the advisors on the council, who's married to the other person who was the potential queen, doesn't end up being the queen. He says that they should do more of a show of force and take over the waters and not let this guy just run rampant over whatever, even though they don't care about the pirates and all that. But they don't end up heeding that very much. So that's the guy's called the crab feeder. So I'm guessing this character they're setting up is gonna play a role. So I'm actually more interested in like little details like that than I am in the big narrative. But yeah, so the king, he does some like selfish things that I don't agree with in the episode. But it's hard not to feel for him at the end. But I don't know that I would say I like him either. So there's a lot of characters I don't know that I like, or so there's not like that same. Right away in the first episode of the original show, you already like the Starks. The Starks are very clearly the good guys, and there's already you like Tyrion already right away. There's a lot of characters you like right away. I don't know that I feel that way about any particular character in this show. So that's one of the things that might be lacking. Not that anything's bad. Like don't take this as criticism. I'm just like pointing out just qualities in the original that might not be here as much. I will say I like the new Iron Throne, but I feel like they could have gone a little bit more with it because I read the first book, like I said, and it's described like so much bigger, and you can see like illustrations of how it is in the books and stuff. I almost wish they did something like that. But I like the spikies that they got, but of course I want to go with the familiarity again. So yeah, Matt Smith steals every scene that he's in, and he's a great actor, and I've always liked him as an actor. He was the Doctor. He was on The Crown. Yeah, so he's Prince Philip in that. So there's a lot of great roles, and this is another really good one. He's a villainous, brutal character, and we only get through on the surface level with him. We don't know what's really driving him down below. So that to me is intriguing. I'm interested in this. I'm curious what their like connection is. Like, how does she feel about him? Based on this, like, they seem to have some type of camaraderie going on. Maybe because they both feel like they're on the outs with the family. Because the brother is like, he's kind of cast out in a way. Like, he's on the council, but he's really not. He's not involved with making decisions as royalty and stuff, even though he's next in line to the throne. And so he feels like he's on the outs. She feels like she's on the outs because she's not the firstborn son. She doesn't have that same. She doesn't have the succession and everything. So even though she could be better at him because he's the one taking her place, she's directing that bitterness elsewhere, which is allowing this kind of relationship, which I find that interesting too. So there's a lot of good drama here, a lot of great setups, and this kind of posture is what I mean with like the romantic thing. But I feel like at this point it's kind of like one-sided. Like she's into it, and the high tower girl is not very into it. Because like as soon as she's like says something like vaguely flirty, I guess she's like, I like this position, it's comfortable. It was a little play on words because the position meant a different thing when she said it, and now she meant like the physical position she's laying in. And then she kind of gets up and walks away. She pulls this book out, and I don't know what this book is, if it's a history book, but she mentions the Septa is going to be mad when she defaces it. The princess defaces it. So she doesn't view, she kind of rejects the sacred stuff, which again is not necessarily something that makes me like her, it feels like disrespectful to rip somebody's book, but she's kind of like bucking conventions, I guess, or she's interested in that. So I'm curious to see what that leads into. So this scene has a lot going for it, I think there's some finer details here. Even though it's not, one of the scenes that's going to stand out to most viewers, I appreciate a lot of the little details in scenes like this. Of course, I think everybody's thinking the same thing when you see this window. You think about the king jumping out of it. But yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's what they're going for with the callback, because he's kind of like almost suicidal in a way based on certain decisions he makes in here. And he's got a back injury, or that's something that looks like it's getting infected. So maybe he's not long for this world. And then we get this scene with the mother and the father, the king and queen, and she's pregnant, but she's worried about it because she had 5 pregnancies in a few years, and 5 years or something that didn't go well. And she's like, this is the last one. And he, based on this information that he gets here, he makes the decision at the end to go through with the C-section. So again, the setup and the payoff, good. And this is like the most cathartic scene in the episode. Just the emotions in the scene I really relate to, with her, like, I can't mourn any more dead children. So that was it's a powerful scene. It's probably my favorite scene in the episode, even though most people probably would not pick that one, And then we cut to kind of this scene where Matt Smith's character is hyping up his city guard. And I love this scene with him hyping them up. And I was instantly like, whoa, this is like going to be crazy. And then kind of right away, he goes in this brutal massacre thing. And I feel like he's just picking people out at random. That's the way it appears based on how they're editing it and how they shot it and everything, it's too over the top for me. I'll be honest. Not that I'm offended by the violence or anything. It's just like it lacks subtlety. I would have preferred something a bit more nuanced than this. I get what they were going for, and I appreciate that he's got to be the brutal dictator type. And I don't know who the Mad King is. I forget right now if he is the Mad King or if the king on there currently is the Mad King. There's a Targaryen who goes insane, or maybe several. I think, I don't know. I'm not an expert, like I said, but yeah. So I ultimately, this scene is pretty cool, but it was way over the top for me. I kind of rolled my I don't know. I kind of rolled my eyes at it, honestly. That was my reaction. It was like, that's way over the, like, where's the subtlety? Where's the wits? There's a few things I find a little lacking in this, and the subtlety and the wit and the heart is where I find this lacking. So that's like stopping it from me like strongly recommending it at this point. And just the over familiarity and not enough new stuff. So all of that those are cons. Notice a lot of the pros I gave along the way. So I think the pros outweigh the cons right now. And like I said, there's a lot of places they can go with it. But yeah, just going into finer detail here. They discuss the massacre. Otto, the Hand of the King, really doesn't like the brother, Matt Smith. They really don't like each other. And I gotta watch what I show. No. We cannot show that. Okay, we can't show the next scene, but I'll just describe it. And this is another part of Matt Smith's character I find interesting, which is it's a smash cut to him at a brothel, and he's with a prostitute, and he can't seal the deal, my guy. And I think it's interesting. He's not driven by sex, so the typical you could just fill in this type of character. Just he's interested in sex. It kind of goes against what he's saying in this scene here, because he's posturing like he's having lots of sex with people who aren't his wife. So that's the connotation of this scene. And then in the next scene, they followed up with, oh, he's really not interested in that. It's really just a posturing thing to him, and he does that because that's what his men want to do, and it's almost like a for show type of thing. So that's how I interpret it. I don't know if he cares about violence, or he doesn't really seem to value the throne or royalty or anything like that, but absolute power, of course, is very corrupting, and everybody wants that. So I don't know if that's what he wants, so that's what I mean. We only get the surface level, and I like that aspect. Adding a little bit of subtlety in there is good. Okay, and then we get a duo scene where we got jousting going on, and we got the birth happening on the other side. So the jousting is especially brutal, and the men go over the top, and they are like brutally murdering each other. So this scene, we've seen scenes like this before. It's good events like this are a good way to introduce us to the dynamics, and I guess we're going for a more brutal kind of even older than the previous medieval series, so it's extra brutal, I guess. I don't know, it was a little bit over the top to me, and again, it's like, do I really like this king character because he allows this, just senseless violence and stuff? But it is medieval. It's that, so that's just adding what I'm saying about not having anybody to really latch onto as the hero right now. But the complexity of it, I get it. So the brutality of the scene, it's definitely like, oof, gross. But yeah, and then the C-section scene is absolutely brutal. So he makes that choice to do the C-section and stuff. And just quick shout out for modern medicine. Hi, big ups to modern medicine for letting C-sections go off without a hitch a lot of times. You know what I'm saying? That's what I like to see. So yeah, it's a tragic scene. It's a big brutal death scene. Again, that choice that the king makes, I just straight up don't like the king very much. Because that's obviously a selfish thing. He does it with his own interest in mind, I think. That's just what's going on there. And then we got the brutality going on. And the person who was also in the running to be the queen, who didn't end up being the queen, she says that the men haven't been to war, so there's has not been a war in a long time, and I think of course we're gonna see that. So I like that little detail as well. Uh, so yeah, we get the brutality in there. It just like it feels a little over the top. I know it is Game of Thrones, and we expect a little amount of brutality, but it almost feels like just dangling that there. It's a little bit exploitative, I guess. So I don't know. I wasn't really all that moved by the massacre scene, and the it's just a bit too much too fast for me. Like, where do they go extra brutal from there? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a little too much too quick. Am I making sense? But yeah, we get the funeral scene, and again, it's another thing that's kind of a mark against her because there's this funeral going on, and she's of course thinking of her own personal attachment to it. She wonders if her dad was happy while her brother was alive for a couple hours. So again, that's just a mark to make her selfish again. Well, I'm not saying she's evil or bad. Or a bad character. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, me personally as a viewer, do I attach to her? Do I like her? I don't know. It's a question mark. I mean, not really, if I'm being honest. Not that I dislike her either. It could go either way at this point. But yeah, that's just one of the things. Well, I'd be curious if you guys really like her, attached to her, and whatnot. But here we're talking about the line of succession, freshly, because the son. I did feel like it was a bit cheap to do the whole C-section scene, the brutality of it and stuff, and then to have the son come out, and then the next scene, smash cut, he's just dead. It felt a little cheap, I guess. I don't know. It just felt like a shock value thing. Like, we're going for a hollow shock value, and I know we got shock value in the original show, but it just felt like it had a bit more substance. Maybe I just got rose tinted glasses or something. Yeah, it felt a little cheap with the baby dying, but that's okay. But here we are talking about the line of succession again, and now we're talking about it as an open question. They want to get the brother out, and they argue over who should be the successor. Instead, they say that it wouldn't be out of the question to line up a new successor, and they argue over who it should be. Of course, this guy is arguing for his wife, the person who could have been queen. They're also discussing his daughter potentially being the next in line, and that's what he ends up going with, of course, because he wants to keep it in the family. That all makes sense. And then we get I don't really know what the point of these scenes are, I'm going to be honest, other than to tell us who she's related to, although I think we knew that already. I think he sends her off to the king to comfort him and stuff. And presumably because she's lost a mother, like, she knows a little bit about grief and stuff. And my first instinct was, oh, this is going to go badly. Like, that's the only way this scene would really make sense. But it doesn't, so at least, I don't know. I feel like I missed something. I don't know what I was supposed to get from this. Let me know what you guys think. Other than he's got this modeling hobby, but this is like way more than a hobby. This is like professional level. So I don't know. It was just can't show that. So it was just a little. It was, the modeling's a little over the top. I can't show the next scene, but I really like the dilemma here between this scene is so good with Matt Smith and the King. We got the King and Matt Smith. Matt Smith's character made a statement that he viewed it as a good thing. He was celebrating the young heir's death as the first in line. So he was celebrating it. He said he toasted to the heir of an hour or whatever it was. And this scene is great. The drama of it is excellent. I really like this scene in general. Like, the acting is really good. The tension is good. And then he, of course, casts him out. He says, "You're no longer the heir. We're having a new heir, and I want you to go back to your wife," and all that. So I love the tension. And then he cuts himself on the Iron Throne. Could we be a little bit more subtle? I don't know. It's just very, very obvious in your face symbolism, But and then we get the scene with him naming his daughter the successor, and I like this. It shows promise, and that's pretty much the episode, if I'm not mistaken. So I like the setup here, the family drama. The setting is cool. It's good to be back in Westeros, but honestly, it's not really lighting me on fire. But the original Game of Thrones didn't necessarily do that either right away. It took a few episodes for me to like, oh, it's my favorite show now. So it really it's solid though. It can go either way at this point as far as I'm concerned. So a tepid recommendation as of right now. So just in general, like some of the only real things that I find kind of lacking, like I said, the wit is kind of lacking. It's just not the same writing quality as George R. R. Martin's like original works. And there's no like one line of there's not like one line of dialogue that can really stick out where it's like that was really clever. I really like that. The decent writing is in creating the characters and the conflict, but the dialogue isn't quite to the standard for me, and it lacks the heart. I don't really have a character that I really root for at this point, and it lacks the subtlety. So those are the things I find it lacking in, but that doesn't really lower the score too much. I give this as a first episode, I give it like a 7 out of 10. Pretty good. Maybe an 8. No, not an 8 out of 10. It's a 7 out of 10 in my opinion. I liked it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'm looking forward to checking out more. I'm looking forward to covering the show, so I hope to see you guys along the journey with me. And with that, it's been your boy Shuggy. See you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.